it's a great pleasure to present such an esteemed critic and a friend, Joe, with this award.
Thank you so much. This is such fun. And thanks to everybody who did that video montage. You know, you live long enough and everything happens. In thinking about what I could possibly say of any interest, I thought of something very specific happening that I never expected to happen out here, and it involves finding my voice. And don't get alarmed, because this is not a philosophical dissertation on the existential question of who you are as a writer. I'm talking about finding this voice. And I thought it was appropriate because Will Lewis is the guy who got me into this, and KCRW is really my source of a lot of pleasure in my work. And I just thought I would talk a little bit about being a person who grew up hating his voice. I loathed my voice for a very long time because I wanted more than anything else to be a disc jockey. And this was back in, I won't do the math, but it was back in when the accepted radio voice was a deep baritone with a glottal stop, and my voice has gotten better over the years, but it was very light and breathy. And I managed to get a job on the college radio station, and I managed to get a job at WGPA, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, 250 watts, where the staff announcer had truly, Bernie Black, a serious speech impediment. And so I was accepted there. But wherever I went afterward, after college, no dice, being told you don't have a radio voice. I became a DJ groupie. I hung out at a station called WOV in New York, which was a bilingual station. During the day, it was an Italian station. At 7 o'clock at night, it became a terrific jazz station with a disc jockey primarily named Fred Robbins, Robbins Nest. And the program director overheard me saying to somebody once that I wanted a summer job on the air. And he invited me to come in and audition on a Saturday, I remember. And I thought I'd broken the curse. I went in, I sat in the studio, somebody brought me a script, I looked at it, and it was in Italian. So we flash forward a number of years and decades to my being out here, my getting my job with the Wall Street Journal, becoming a born-again critic, and Ruth Seymour invites me, well, she offers me a king's ransom to begin with, to be on the air in KCRW, and invites me to shoot my mouth off and, talk movies for 4 minutes every week. And suddenly I discover I have a radio voice. I mean, fame at last was my standard line, because people, starting way back in 1996, wasn't it? Yeah. And unto this day, people come up. You can't believe how intimate a medium radio is. People come up to me and say, I know that voice. I mean, on the supermarket line. And people say, you've got a great voice. And it is so fulfilling. No, I'm sorry, they don't say I have a great voice. They say I have a distinctive voice. But at this point in my life, that's good enough. It was more than good enough to break a spell at one point. a story I've considered maybe not telling because my grandson is here, but it's no news to you that parents and children sometimes have a little friction. Your mother and I were sitting in Starbucks some time ago having what we adults call a serious conversation. And we were falling into this terrible cycle that we used to fall into. All is well now. She would have been here except she's in Oregon. But the vicious cycle was I make her nervous by whatever expectations I have at the moment. Her anxiety makes her repetitive. I get impatient with her anxiety, and the vicious circle reinforces itself. And it was getting really bad in this corner of one of the 24 Starbucks on Montana. And she finally said, and in retrospect, I took this as a wonderful mark of emerging maturity, because she was, pretty young. She said, "I hate what you're doing with your voice." And I said, "What?" And she said, you're just using it as a weapon. But she never finished the sentence, because a guy came over, a very personable, well-dressed man, came over to our table, extended his hand with a broad grin to me, and said, "I just wanted to tell you how much I love your voice on KCRW." So I have discovered my voice, is what I'm trying to say. That's the really sweet part of all of this. And one not so sweet part that I'm still struggling with, I guess, with Jewish guilt, is the KCRW thing comes so easily. Why am I getting such praise for it? Because I do all the hard work on Tuesdays and Wednesdays when I write my Wall Street Journal column, and then I just cut it down, usually by half, the word count, and turn it into conversational style. And I go into the studio and put on the headphones, everything that I dreamed of as a kid, except I'm not a DJ, but that's okay. I qualify as a radio personality. And I get all this praise. And when people say, "Oh, I hear you on KCRW," I until recently used to say, "Yeah, but that's not really what I do. I'm a writer. My allegiance, I think to myself, is to writing, because trying to find that voice has been a life's work, and it's an ongoing project. But I'm getting over that. I'm learning to take the praise and enjoy the little cozy fame that you have working for KCRW. Not so cozy, since it's now a worldwide station. But the other thing that's not so sweet is that all of this, the journal, the radio station, this award tonight, which I'm terribly touched by, comes at a really bad time for journalism. We all know about it. In my little corner of journalism, I believe 45 critics, movie critics, have lost their jobs in the past year. It comes even closer to home because Kim, where is Kim, the wonderful entertainment reporter who introduced me, and there is no better in the radio business. She got axed by NPR in an incredibly misguided economy move. So these are frightening times for journalists. We all feel the same thing. We all feel a sense of anxiety and bewilderment at what is truly a revolution. I read all the bad news, like I'm sure a lot of you do, on the journalism websites. And one of the most sensible things I read recently is some guy saying, we are in a revolution, and the way you can tell it is that nobody knows the way out. Nobody has a successful business model yet for online journalism. If they did, it wouldn't be a revolution. But that makes it no less frightening. I thought, well, maybe I should give some advice. My hair is gray, and that means you can give advice. I don't have any advice to give, but the advice that I try to give myself all the time to shore my spirits up when they need it is that it's terribly important to continue to believe in the power of language, in the power of words and ideas, in the value of news. It's terribly important to emphasize the journalism part of entertainment journalism. And one good piece of advice I can offer is, if Ruth Seymour calls offering a king's ransom to be on KCRW, just say yes.